this firestorm of debate with this Gaza Riviera plan. As with so many things that Trump does, the immediate response I would have is, well, what does he really want here? And I suspect what he really wants is for the leaders of Arab countries in the Middle East to step up and come up with a workable plan that actually gets things sorted, because Trump's right. Nothing else has worked.
Yeah. Trump is not right about one thing here. His plan is obviously asinine. We all can acknowledge that. It has no chance of success. It's ridiculous. But more importantly, why is he doing it? Can we be honest here? I know in mainstream media and cable news you can't say this. Can we say this here?
Yeah,
it's obviously because of his donors, right? I mean, Miriam Adelson gave him, that Adelson family over 3 elections gave him $337 million. Haaretz reported that she wanted portions of the West Bank and Gaza Strips annexed. So why is Trump saying we're going to own it? He's trying to trick MAGA into thinking after we let the Israelis slaughter more Palestinians as they try to push 2 million people out of their homes and their homeland, and after we finance that slaughter, which we're definitely going to finance because Trump, and to be fair to Trump, almost all the Democrats, all of Washington is owned by Israel. Netanyahu dog-walked Trump around the park, made him look like a waiter as he was putting his chair in. So we're going to pay for all that slaughter. And then Trump goes, oh, don't worry, because we're going to own it later. We're not going to own anything. You think Israel's going to give it back to us? No, they're going to steal that land. This was never about self-defense. We were right all along. It was always about the theft of Palestinian land. We told you so.
Guys, this is Trump's Gaza plan asinine, and also his unclear proposals.
All right, back to you. Your response.
I think that there's a really important point to be made here, which is that no Palestinians have been allowed to flee this war zone because, of course, Israel was not going to let in civilians from Gaza who may have Hamas members hiding amongst them. But also, Egypt did not allow almost a single Palestinian to exit the Gaza Strip. Trump has been very clear that what he imagines here, rightly or wrongly, is the voluntary resettlement of Palestinians who wish to leave Gaza. Now, I know a lot of Palestinians who would rather live in the rubble than leave their homeland, and I respect that. But 40% of Gazans before this war were either employed by Hamas, by the public sector, or by UNRWA, or by jobs in Israel. None of those streams of revenue are going to exist now. And so the question I think we need to be asking is this: does the international community owe it to the people of Gaza to continue subsidizing their living in Gaza under Hamas rule? Because that is essentially what has been happening until now. Now, of course, I do not support any sort of forceful removal of anybody from their homeland, but I don't think that's what Trump is imagining. It was very clear from the press conference that there's going to be this meeting in Riyadh between the Saudis, between the Jordanians, and between the Egyptians, all of whom have done nothing to help the Palestinians forever. And so I think this question becomes who owes who what, and that's really what Trump is trying to introduce here, is a new path forward.
All right, Dave Smith, you said about the plan, I called it insane, ethnic cleansing, and the worst proposal a president can make. But if what it achieves is it gets everybody in a room actually properly debating a solution to all this, isn't it a means to an end?
Well, I guess you could say that about anything. Like, if he doesn't come through on what he's saying he's going to do, and then something else better comes out of it, perhaps. But the plan itself doesn't make any sense. I don't think Batya is right to say that it was clear that this is going to be voluntary. I mean, at best, that was unclear. The only thing that Trump made crystal clear is that they would not be allowed back in. He said that explicitly in the interview with Brett Baer. And the problem, even, I think, Piers, with the idea, which a lot of Trump supporters, and I voted for him in this election, but a lot of Trump supporters are saying, oh, this is just a Trump negotiating tactic. The problem with that angle is that it doesn't even make sense as a negotiating tactic. I mean, who are you putting pressure on here? Like, the idea is you would have to, in order to have a negotiating tactic here, you would have to be putting some pressure on Israel. I mean, the idea that we're going to put more pressure on the people of Gaza, I think they've felt quite enough pressure over the last nearly year and a half now, and many decades.
Yes, those guys in Gaza have felt so much pressure, man. Trump is here to save them. Let's do it, Trump.
Before that. But this is just so, even just to float this out as a starting point in a negotiation is so outrageous. The idea that Israel breaks it and then we buy it after Israel, as we all know on this panel, has used their significant influence. Like, even if you don't want to go quite as far as Cenk and say that, you know, the politicians in America are owned by Israel, although he's got an argument there. Israel has used their significant influence to push America into the entire terror wars of the last 25 years. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli war cabinet has still been trying to pressure us to fight a war with Iran, another catastrophic war in the Middle East. This is what these guys want. And now we're responsible for cleaning up their mess. It's an outrage. It is the antithesis of America first and the antithesis of the spirit in which so many people, the reason why so many people supported Donald Trump, a break from the permanent war party.
Yep. On Piersmorgan show, you're going to hear it here first. Trump, the whole world's relying on the United States to stop these wars. And once Trump came in, he's going to stop the whole thing going on with Russia and Ukraine, and now the whole thing with Israel. And
Piersmorgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, we ask everyone's finance one. The fast customer service makes the whole process simple. What do takes really uninhabitable to families right now.
I have one.
Right? If it's not America that does that, who does it?
nobody will do it if it's not America.
Well, I mean, look, if we want to try something new, what we could try is not giving Israel unconditional support and arming and financing.
No, but that's not my question. My question is who is going to rebuild Gaza?
I can answer it, Piers.
Okay, Cenk.
Well, the responsibility ought to be on Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to be Israel because they bombed the crap out of it and they damaged it, but they're not going to do it. Unless we force them to, we go to war, but then that's pointless because we're going to another war. But then, I don't know. You know how Trump can get. He's the big bully. We are the big bully. America. MAGA. Let's hear what this guest has to say on this.
Cenk?
Yeah. So, as you know, Piers, from day one, what I said was Israel should use special forces. This bombing, indiscriminate bombing of the buildings was outrageous. It was always meant to level it. Hold on. So then what I said after that, Piers, if you remember, is you should do a deal with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank to give the occupied territories back to the Palestinians where it belongs, and have a two-state solution that we've always fought for. And that way they would have the authority and the credibility to be able to push Hamas out of the Gaza Strip.
Who rebuilds Gaza?
That way Israel doesn't have to do it. The U.S. doesn't have to do it. Yeah, I know. I'm getting to it. And so then I know Israel would never pay for anything. They'd try to make us pay for it.
Right, so who
pay
does?
For all their bills. So you can't.
Just answer Piersmorgan question. The U.S. is going to have to pay for it. I hope not, but we probably are.
You go to the Arab countries, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and you say, oh my God, we got a deal. We got a two-state solution. The Palestinians are going to finally have a homeland. Now you guys pay for the rebuilding. I guarantee you that they do that. That is an easy solution. The only thing blocking that solution, that way America doesn't pay anything. There's no more killing. There's peace. The only ones blocking that are Israel, because they don't want two states. They want to steal Gaza, and now they just said it. They want
the other people,
it. They're going to steal it.
But the other people.
So there's no question about it.
Cenk, this all sounds utopian and so easy, except that, of course, you've still got a large Hamas presence, as we see with the release of all these hostages. We believe from American intelligence that for every Hamas terrorist who's been killed, they've already been replaced. The ideology may, if anything, have been fueled, and that ideology is committed to the destruction of all things Israel. So this full utopia picture
Piers,
you're painting it bears no relation to reality.
It's not utopia. It's super simple. No. First of all, Piers, you leave it to the Palestinians. That's why I'm saying do the deal with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. You leave it to the Palestinians to drive Hamas out. So that's their internal business. But in order to do that, You have to have a deal for a two-state solution. And you make the Middle Eastern countries, the Arab countries that have always said that they want an independent Palestine, pay for rebuilding Palestine. It makes perfect sense. And if you
Well, it
say,
does,
oh,
right
well,
to the
it won't
point.
work,
Okay, look, you had me right to the point. You say
I
the
mean,
Palestinians.
if you go to it and say that it won't
check.
work, you're going to the same talking point
I get
about
it,
how
but-
Palestinians are always going to be terrorists.
I get it.
And
I
that's a
don't think
ridiculous,
all
racist Israeli propaganda.
No, I don't think that at all. But I think the idea that the Palestinian Authority will simply go bang and Hamas disappear, forget it. Dean Cain, let me bring you in here. You've been waiting.
It's not simple, but yeah, of course that's what you do. And they might be brutal about it, but that's
the Palestinian Authority is run
Palestinian
by
business,
you've got a guy
not American business.
You've got a guy in his 80s running the Palestinian Authority, right? I do not entrust him, frankly, with all due respect, to run Hamas out of town. Anyway, let me bring.
I'm giving you a perfectly viable solution.
All right, it's
perfectly viable. And you're coming out with excuses because Israel wants Gaza. Be honest.
I'm not coming out with any
Can
excuses.
you admit that Israel clearly wants to steal Gaza? Wasn't that the whole point of this self-defense?
Let me answer you. I certainly believe there are people in Netanyahu's cabinet, Ben-Gvir, Smodrich, and others, who absolutely would like that. That's been my problem with this for a long time. Let me bring Dean Cain, who's been waiting patiently. I mean, Dean, look, a lot of people are outraged, as always, by what Trump has suggested. But is there merit to his apparent madness?
Absolutely, 100%. Look, what we're just failing to talk about here is October 7th. And I'll quote Douglas Murray here. You don't get to start a war and then complain when you lose it. And there are consequences to losing it. And Hamas needs to be absolutely driven out and ended in Gaza. That's unequivocal. Otherwise, they're going to completely keep going with the same circle, teaching people through UNRWA and the schooling there that Israelis are drinking your blood, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're fomenting this. We're paying for half of this stuff through USAID and the other things that are going on. It's ridiculous. I think Israel has every right to step up. I think President Trump has made it clear that he's going to back them 100%, unlike this last administration. And I think we'll actually see something really happen in this area.
But the problem seems to me is there is no real evidence that Hamas have been defeated. In fact, if anything, these propaganda videos they're showing with the hostages, there seem to be a lot of Hamas and a lot of support for Hamas. For these, certainly in the early ones, and I think that would be very.
I can't believe they don't love Israel.
Well, no, but this has been my problem
After
again.
Israel
My problem
murdered
again.
62,000 people there.
Yeah, but just to go back to
Wow, they don't love Israel. That's so shocking.
Well, hang on. I'm going to go back to
yeah. Would you love your oppressors? I
do
wouldn't
what
love
you
my
did on October
oppressors.
7th.
I wouldn't love people who murdered my family.
There, you sound like one of the Israelis.
You're wrong. The Palestinians didn't start this war. Israel started it with the occupation. You don't get to occupy Texas for 57 years, and if Texas fights back, go, oh, look at the terrorists in Texas. They started the war. No, Israel definitively started a war. America first. I'm tired of them. Israel first. Israel first. Give them $300 billion. Pay for their genocides. Get out of there. America first. And let these poor people, Palestinians, go.
So the
number one problem is Israel and their infinite greed for land, and slaughter.
So just to be clear,
everybody knows that.
Just to be clear, Chen, because you're going a bit further than you have before. Just to be clear, you think October the 7th was an inevitable consequence of the way the Palestinian people have been treated?
Guys, I hate October 7th. When Hamas does violence, they do so much damage to the Palestinians and the Muslims. But two things can be true at the same time. You could have something awful, and then you could use your brain to figure out, hey, why did that happen? And does anyone think that any American wouldn't fight back if they were occupied and humiliated and their land stolen and their families bullied and harassed?
Do you guys think he has a point here, guys? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Israel, what they're doing?
And humiliated for 57 straight years. Of course we would fight back. Of course any set of human beings would fight back. But when Israel...
He does have a point here, guys, okay? Make sure you guys comment and like the video, okay? And don't forget to subscribe.